go straight to the phone lines as we start off segment 3 of hour number 2 here on Halftime. One of our favorites, Nate Olson, joining us, talk some high school. I am losing my mind and I can't talk. Nate, just go ahead and save me here. Nate Olson joining us here on Halftime, talking some Arkansas high school state football playoff action. Nate, we have got a loaded slate coming up this Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, just let me say happy Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve. Hope you guys have a tremendous day to get the work week done, and have a happy Thanksgiving to you and all your family.
We appreciate it, and same to you, my brother. Me and Maddie T, I think we're shutting down the office here at about 2, I think, is what we're doing today.
Now that there's no football this weekend, looks like we do have an extended.
We're going to take a couple days off.
Now, didn't Nate just get back from a trip where he was out in the middle of nowhere or something?
Yeah, I was in the woods. I was over in Scranton.
Scranton, okay.
We need to talk about that sometime. Yeah, I was on Lake Dardanelle. We need to talk about that sometime. I ate at a really good place there. Debbie's Dinner Bucket, had a great meal, and went to the Pridgeon Family Farms brewery there, which is awesome. If you guys are ever around there, you need to check it out. We watched Sunday football there when we got there, and then spent the rest of the time fishing and kind of enjoying nature. But it was kind of cool that in Scranton, Arkansas, in the middle of a farm, there was a brewery. So we had a great little
That's neat.
Getaway. Now we're ready to celebrate Thanksgiving.
What did you say? Debbie's Food Bucket? Is that what you said in Scranton?
Dinner Bucket.
Dinner Bucket. Okay, I'm gonna need to check that. I got some friends close to there.
Home cooking. Had a wonderful breakfast there yesterday. Can't recommend it enough. I love that area. I love that little corridor there between there and then Paris and the mountains. It's really awesome. And Lake Dardanelle is cool. And that's one of the things in the pandemic. One of the blessings is we haven't gotten outside enough. We play ball and we go to ball games and, the hustle and bustle of everything, but we've got to slow down. We've been to several state parks. We've hiked. We took up kayaking. I mean, that's been one of the great things about it.
That's awesome.
I digress, but anyway.
One of the good points about living in Arkansas is we have all this available.
Absolutely. And it's always.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's always good that you can take some time off and enjoy some time with your family, and obviously during the Thanksgiving holiday. So we obviously happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well.
You bet.
Let's jump.
Yeah, you bet.
Let's jump right on into it. Got a lot of big time matchups coming up this weekend. The 7A Central, Nate, has been just absolutely dominant in these playoffs. Cabot beating Bentonville, probably the shocker of the year so far, at least in the playoffs, with Cabot beating Bentonville. The 7A Central, though, Nate, has been dominant during these playoffs.
Yeah, so for the third straight year, it's going to be for sure going to be an all central championship. You've got Conway playing at Bryant tomorrow night, and Cabot playing at North Little Rock, and Cabot pulled a shocker. I told you guys though that if I was a Tiger fan, I would be nervous because Cabot was one of the better teams that Bentonville was going to play since the non-conference. I think far better than anybody in the league, and they showed that. And Bentonville looked like they put them away. They're down 17 points in the third quarter, but Tyler G., the great quarterback, UCA commit, helped lead the Panthers back, and the defense didn't play great, but the last stand of the ball game inside the 5-yard line, they come up with a big fumble that kind of bent but didn't break there. Mm-hmm. And so they come away with the upset win, and the 7A West continues to kind of falter a little bit. But as Rex Nelson said on the show, this ebbs and flows. We'll see the West come back, and I'll be interested to see next year who may sort of arise out of there. The Bentonville should be good again. I mean, they've got a great thing going there, but is somebody else going to rise up to fortify that league? Is it going to be Fayetteville? Is it going to be Harbor, Bentonville West? Can somebody else up their game a little bit to compete with the Central to keep it from being an all-Central final again next year?
I got a buddy of mine listening right now. We were going to talk about the Malvern Shiloh Christian matchup, and he used to attend Malvern High School. He's a big time Malvern fan, so I want to make sure we give Malvern a shout out. And with some of these matchups coming out of the 4A, with Malvern and Shiloh Christian, Prairie Grove and Rivercrest, Elkins versus Nashville, there's some big time matchups this Friday coming out of the 4A. And leading it off, though, I think will be Shiloh and Malvern.
4A is a lot of fun. That field is stacked. I think there's potential for some upsets we talked about on Friday night. And the Shiloh Christian, I really like Shiloh Christian. Eli Wisdom is a terrific sophomore quarterback. They played well consistently all year long. the two tough games they had with Elkins and Prairie Grove, they handled them well. I think you'll see that maybe those teams can make a run in the playoffs. So they've checked all the boxes. This is going to be a tough game for them. Malvern is very athletic. The 7-4A is so good, and week in and week out, Arkadelphia, Ashdown, Robinson, Nashville. And Malvern has beaten Arkadelphia, beaten Ashdown rather, and played with Robinson a week where they had 20 players missing due to COVID. And so they are battle tested. They're not going to be intimidated, the Saints. They come in with their own fantastic sophomore quarterback in Cedric Simmons, very dynamic. Last week in the 54-0 win over Truman, he goes for 196 yards passing and 3 touchdowns with 118 yards on the ground. Going to be very, very key for Shiloh for their defense to contain him. He's going to be the most athletic player they've probably seen since the beginning of the season in Oklahoma. So it'll be a test. The Saints are so tough in Springdale at Champions Field, so I would give them the nod here, but I think they're going to sweat a little bit trying to pull this one out.
Absolutely. Real quick before we let you go, the 6A and 5A matchups. Let's start with the 6A matchup. There's a pair of really good matchups. Marion and Greenwood, Lake Hamilton taking on Sylvan Hills out of the 6A. Got some good matchups getting into the 6A, and I think it'll start off with Greenwood, who's just been on a tear all year long.
Well, Greenwood has an easy path, I think, to the. And no offense to Marion, but they're a number 6 seed. Only the second time that the 6 seed has advanced this far. They are very athletic and got a great running back, Brandon Mackey, who ran for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns against Van Buren last week. And Dedrick Cato is the all-time leading passer in school history. But I think this is where their Cinderella run ends, and I think Greenwood wins big in this game. They don't lose playoff games at home. They don't lose, period. I mean, their seniors haven't lost a game at home in the regular season. So this should be, I would think, a pretty easy Greenwood win, and they probably don't want to hear me say that over there, but I would say heavy favorites. That Coach Young and company want to keep this group motivated, but they've done it all year long. They've played everybody that's been put in front of them because of COVID. They've had to play a couple 7A teams, and they've just dismantled everybody pretty much. Lake Hamilton was a really tough game for them, but they pulled it out on the road. So I'm interested to see if LD Richmond plays this week. He went out of the ball game injured, but Hunter Houston came in, threw for 182 yards and 4 touchdowns. So I don't know about LD's status for this week, but that may be something to keep an eye on. But I think Greenwood takes care of them and gets to the championship, and they've done nothing to dissuade me from continuing to pick them to win it all. When you look at the other side of the bracket, Sylvan Hills caught my attention by beating Parkview 7-0. It's their second shutout of the year. Parkview is very athletic. They've got all those Division I recruits, including Landon Rogers, who's going to Arkansas. So to hold them scoreless, Chris Hill, you remember him, a lot of people in the River Valley. He was at Van Buren and Morrilton. Great coach. He's got Sylvan Hills revived. They're running a run-oriented offense. And so this game will probably be over in an hour and a half because both these teams like to run it. But it's going to come down to who is going to be more physical in the trenches and get their running game going and chew up that clock, because Lake Hamilton has 2 juniors that go for over 1,000 yards rushing this year, Tevin Woodley and Owen Miller. So they both want to run the ball, and Lake Hamilton's really, really physical offensive line could give Sylvan Hills some problems, but they did a good job against Parkview, so we'll see. But that'll be the most competitive game, and then it'll be interesting to see if one of those teams could give Greenwood a run in the championship.
Last thing to touch on, the 5A and 3A matchups. Got a pair of good matchups that are here in our listening audience. Whitehall and Harrison coming out of the 5A, and the 3A, Greenland and Paris. And I'm a personal fan of watching that small school 3A, 4A football, just because those games are always so competitive just with those kids. And I think Greenland Paris, Nate, will be the exact same way.
I think it will be good. And Paris has been kind of a team I watched all year. There's been some really good turnarounds. Bigelow went from 0-10 to undefeated, and Paris was 3-7, had one of their best seasons since 1958. So the thing that I like about them in this game is their defense is very opportunistic. They've scored a lot of pick six and fumble recoveries. They did that twice in one game against Boonville, even though they lost to Boonville. That's been their own, I think their only loss. And so I think this will be good. I think Paris will take it at home. Greenland's going to relies on their running game. They've got a couple of good backs that can run the ball. And they both beat Perryville by a big margin. So they're a little bit even. But I think where it comes down to is that Paris has a really good quarterback in Chase Watts and some playmakers there in their defense. I think they'll be able to pull this out, but I think it will be a good small school game. And then going to Whitehall and Harrison. Harrison, I don't know if you knew this, but they had to use their third-team quarterback last week. The starter, Cole Keelan, who we've talked about a lot this year, he hurt his knee, and so the backup came in and did a good job. Beck Jones, he's the starting free safety. He came in. They ran a wildcat package with him. He scores 3 touchdowns in the second half, including the game winner. And so they win this week. Keelan could be back. This will be a tough game, though. Whitehall with Bobby Bolding. He's a terrific coach. I'd say one of the top 5 in the state. He's won championships at Stuttgart and Pine Bluff. He'll be ready for Harrison, but Harrison has been good all year long. If Keelan can be in there, or if Jones can be a little, even more prepared this week, I think they'll pull out the win. But this is going to be a hard-fought game. Whitehall only gives up 10 points to Batesville last week, so their second long trip in 2 weeks. That could be a factor. We saw that with Van Buren going over to Jonesboro and Harrison back-to-back. But I think this will be good. I think Harrison will pull it out, though, and kind of continue that run. I think I've got them in the state championship game against Pulaski Academy, and I think that'd be a great game.
Nate, we sure do appreciate you joining us here on Halftime. Have a great weekend and have a happy Thanksgiving with you and your family, and we surely appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, you bet. I love it, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys, too. Have a great one.